So I
It's
bet
still
you.
active.
So I bet you hoped that someone good would actually make a Ruina guide, but no, you're stuck with me and my clown entourage.
Honk.
Haha.
Your ensemble, if you will.
Yes, clown.
Think all that.
We have clown-to-clown communication. Anyway, here we have. I wanted to make a Ruina like basic mechanics guide, pretty much, because the in-game tutorial
Is ass.
Yeah, like it might become more clear if you know like the mechanics, but like
yeah.
if you're gonna start the game, it's really hard to like grasp what's going
Especially
on.
since they throw like 7 of them at you. Whoa, what the
Yeah.
hell? What the hell? Look at this screenshot over here. Okay, it's also outdated, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're planning on redoing it, but until then...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But after this video, you can probably like get the stuff in the manual more.
Yeah. Okay, so how Ruina works is that you basically go between these receptions over here, just as story progress, with reception after reception to reach the ultimate book, as Angela calls it. And so, you go into a reception by selecting the reception. Some receptions have multiple nodes, and then putting in the books required for this reception. You won't be able to see who you're fighting initially, but when you go in like this, it will show you.
You get the story.
Yeah, you get the story first, which we don't have because it's a repeat, and I don't want to spoil. And then you get to see what the fight is. So this is an early game fight, which, well, not that early game, but still pretty early game, where we get to fight against three generics with one act, which is basically one wave of enemies. You get to see what cards they have, read their effects, their passives, and you can also swap your pages and like cards and key pages, which we're gonna get after the basic showcase.
Yeah.
So when you're ready, you just click begin stage play. So this is basically the initial phase of combat where the speed rolls are undecided yet, and so when you click this button or press space, the speed rolls are determined and the enemies play their dice. Now, could someone go over clash rules for me?
Well, specifically for taking over clashes and such, or...
Yeah, taking over clashes and how clashes... What even are clashes to begin with? Basically, the enemies are targeting our dice, notably the dice, not the character.
Yeah.
This is a very important distinction.
Every individual dice gets targeted, and it's very relevant to, you know, see which one you're being targeted on.
Especially since...
Because oh, sorry.
No. Yeah, but we get the intel, and eventually you're gonna start having multiple speed dice on one character, so you're gonna need to know which dice are being targeted.
Because you control and dictate the entire flow of the battle. The enemy is enough to say use a high die, a low die to attack one of your high dice, and generally be a nuisance about being able to delegate where you can put your dice. Long story short, you need to focus on the number itself rather than the character in determining actions.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So the enemy, like when you determine the speed rolls, the enemies will already have played their dice, and your turn is managing that. So how intercepting clashes can work, for example, is that, well, this guy is targeting my character, for example, here, right? So I can respond to that, and these two will now compare their values against each other in what is called a clash. However, there is a second one targeting me, and if I don't do anything about that, he will just attack me without any recompense.
One-sided attack that they call in the game.
Yeah, they're called one-sided attacks. However, if your speed value is higher, it has to be higher, it cannot be tied. You can intercept. and force the enemy to attack this character, for example. Now note that if you have multiple characters with higher speed dice, like let's target the top one because she has speed 2. It doesn't actually matter what the speed is, like how much higher it is. It's just the last one you've played that intercepts.
Yeah, the last one I played is the one that
Which
takes
means
over
like the
clash.
5 attacks the guy first, and then the
Yeah.
clash will like get played later.
Yeah, and
So like maybe there's like a dangerous enemy and you want to like stagger him.
yeah, which is a mechanic in the game because you have, well, HP, which is self-explanatory. You die in real life. Except not really. There is no permadeath in this. Everyone just gets undead. Everyone just raises from the dead after a reception. So no need to worry about losing people.
This
Not
isn't
permadeath
Lobotomy
for you.
Corporation now.
Yeah.
Not permadeath for you. For the enemy, however.
Yes, naturally.
We don't care about those guys though, so hey, all's well in the land.
What do you mean? We make books out of them. Okay. So
Yeah.
And then there's Stagger Resist. So how Stagger Resist works is that, as you can see, there are 5 basic types of dice in the game. There are slash dice, pierce dice, blunt dice. These are basically just the 3 damage types of the game. They just deal damage, basically.
Yeah.
They just deal damage, pretty much. And every like enemy or page that you have just has different resistances to it. So this guy, for example, has Endured, which is he takes 50% less damage from other HP damage from blunt attacks, but regular for Stagger. 1.5 from Pierce to HP, and 2 times to their Stagger from Pierce dice.
On most battles, your primary focus would be to stagger the opponent.
Pretty much, like
Yeah.
it's exceedingly it's rather rare that a battle is won through not staggering the opponent, because it's
Unless
basically
the
like
opponent
if you
has,
stagger an
like-
enemy, all of their resistances drop to fatal.
Yeah, which means you
Unless-
can do like
so
a lot of
that's-
damage.
Unless the opponent has a condition where it specifically cannot be staggered.
Yeah, but it has to say in that case that there has to be some specific text here.
Yeah.
But that's gonna like come later a bit. For like basic combat, you basically want to aim to stagger and then just finish them off. And then the other type of dice is block dice, which are these. These reduce the damage you take, and if you win the clash, you also deal stagger damage to the opponent.
Based on the difference.
If it's clashing against an offensive dice, then it deals equal to the difference. If it's against a defensive dice, you deal the full roll of your winning clash.
Yeah, on win. And then evade dice.
On win.
Yeah, on win. If you tie, by the way, if offensive dice clash against offensive dice, the higher one does the damage, the lower one just gets wasted. And
Yeah.
on ties, just both get negated completely, so neither do anything. And then how evade dice work is that if they win against an offensive die, they recover stagger resist, and they recycle. So like they keep going until you either, well, run out of cards, lose the clash, or meet a defensive die.
While evade dice might seem stronger than block, they generally have like really low min rolls.
That too, and they don't deal stagger damage to the opponent upon winning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like
They only
they're more-
recover your
Yeah, they
staggers.
recover your stagger resist. And if a block die meets an evade die, the evade die cannot be re-rolled, but depending on which of them wins, either the evade die recovers stagger or the block die deals the full stagger damage. So if this block die rolls, for example, 6, and this rolls a 1, you deal 6. It doesn't matter what
Yeah.
this roll is, if it's lower. And if an evade die clashes with an evade die, they just both get cancelled. completely.
Yeah, nothing
It doesn't
happens.
even matter what the roll is.
I mean, they're both trying to evade each other.
Or nothing happens.
Pretty much.
I guess, did you explain block on block?
Block on block is
Yeah, he
whichever
did.
one rolls. Yeah, which we did, but we can go over
Oh,
it again. If whichever one rolls higher, deals the full block. So, for example, if this rolled 6, and if an enemy had like a block die with that rolled 5 or 4,
Yeah.
you would just deal 6.
Yeah. And if they tie, nothing happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna initiate the battle phase by either pressing this button or pressing space. I've turned off quick vote, which means I have to click on the dice to roll. So this one, for example, rolled a 1, watch their stagger. I rolled a 5, and they took 5 stagger damage. Now he rolls a 2, and so I roll a 3, and his attack doesn't even go through. And same here. Evade die versus evade die, both get cancelled even though I lost. He rolls a 3, I have a 4 to 5 roll, so I'm guaranteed to win. He rolls a 2, I have a 3 to 4, another win. This is one-sided attack happens because I had 2 speed dice, so I could play 2 cards. Opponent got staggered. His retaliate rolled a 2. It doesn't win. He rolls a 4.
And-
I'm very likely to lose this. Oh,
But
tie.
sometimes miracles
Oh.
happen.
Tie. This is whatever for now. We'll explain this later. And yeah, now this opponent is staggered. Also, when you're staggered, you cannot move for that turn. So not only are your like defenses like low, you also can't even act. So it's really bad if you get staggered.
Yeah, in that case, you're more dedicated to defending the one person who's staggered because the enemy is smart enough and will take liberal advantage of the fact that they can put the smackdown on one of your friends.
Pretty much.
And if you can't have enough speed to redirect, I'm sorry.
Pretty much. Yeah. That about sums it up. So
Also, we should explain statuses, so how you can know that you can like
yeah,
see what they do.
yeah, there are different statuses that pop up during the battle, but you can just hover
Yeah.
over them or use even the scroll bar. Like I'm pressing on the middle mouse key right now, or using the scroll bar to zoom in. Just hover over the ability, and it will say exactly what it is. Just
It's also with cards. If you look at cards, usually you just say on the side what the effect does.
Yeah,
on the
see,
side
like,
it says
inflict
what
2 bind, for example, next scene, and it says what bind is. It lowers the speed values, which are these, from the
Yeah.
opponent, on hit. So, turns out reading in a library is pretty good.
Yeah.
That sounds silly.
You're right.
I just want to play the card with the shiniest art.
Understandable. What about this art? I don't even know what's happening here, but I'm fine with it.
Okay, to be fair,
He looks like he's punching.
The chain link cards are like, they have like pretty ass art.
Yeah, oh well.
General receptions, you know how it goes. Those are not exactly
al-
like a priority.
Yeah.
It's almost like they in universe took a picture of themselves just doing cool things rather than actually having a professional artist, do things.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, that's the evade dice going
yeah,
in.
evade die 1 and I recover stagger. And now he's
And you
staggered.
staggered.
It dealt 2 stagger there because it was an offensive die against the block. And that's a stagger.
Man, your rolls are quite good today.
3
18.
to 6, rolls 9.
Strength
This
and
is the
3.
power of Observe. Yeah.
And now they're staggered, so if you wanna auto battle, you press P, but I don't recommend this unless
Yeah.
you're really
Yeah,
stealing.
there is, because there is a chance that everyone will
They'll
just
play
focus on
dumb
one
cards.
staggered, like they'll just focus on one staggered enemy.
Yeah,
and
they
leave the other
either
one alive.
focus on one person or just play cards that are just good for damage.
Yeah, don't rely on the auto battle function. It does not have any sort of rhyme or reason to it, as far as I can tell. It just does
Only-
whatever, and that's not
Only
good.
use it if you're like grinding a specific reception. You have literally no way to lose.
Yeah.
If you like outclass the enemy super hard. So, nice. After a reception, you resolve the books. These depend on their emotion level, which we're gonna go in depth on another reception in a bit. But when you get the books, you go to burn books, and you burn, baby, burn this Disco Inferno.
Yeah, you burn them,
And as you can see, there are these like rewards. Now, since I'm a bit further in the game, I already have all the Fixer key pages, but it would start at 5 out of 5 initially. But basically, this is a pool of things that you can get. So if you burn this book here,
and if you press escape, you can skip the animation.
oh, that's nice. Thank you.
Thanks,
I didn't know that.
I have 300. I have 330 hours in this game, and I didn't know that.
You didn't know that either until recently.
Maybe they added it. But yeah, these are randomly selected from the pool. But as you can see, the pool got smaller of rewards.
Yeah.
So like, eventually you're gonna get all the cards from here, including the key pages. And the key pages are basically what your teammates are using. Imagine them as like armor. So
armor and deck binders, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. And what happens if you burn a book? But because you get 8 pages per book usually, if you have less available than whatever you're burning, it will just like reselect. It will just like reapply
The reset, the reward will reset.
Only the cards will get reset.
Yeah. And for example, if you want to farm like a specific card or something, there's also the reset rewards button, which as you can see I have, like in this selection I have 5 out of 6 your shields, but if I press the button it's 6 out of 6. It's rare that you need to, it's rare that you want to use this, but it's an option.
Yeah.
You can use it after you get all the key pages on that book.
Yeah, usually the key pages are what you're gunning for.
Or you know, on Sayo.
Plus,
anyone who plays Ruina knows how cancer it is to get the Book of Sayo, and how hard cancer it is to get the page of Sayo. But that's an aside. So how do you build decks? So everyone starts with this like basic page. It's completely
sucks.
Yeah.
You don't want it.
Like, you almost never want to use it. I say almost because there are some extremely cheese strategies you can use in the very late game with this key page, but other than that, just don't use this.
And the main purpose of that key page on these strategies is to die.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So not the best interest proposition, if you ask me. So, how you build a deck is that you select the key page that you want. Let's say this one as a start. Oof. That doesn't look right, but let's go with it.
I prefer not.
Put Youngmi's page like a man.
Do you even have Youngmi's page?
No.
Okay, then have a fucking stray dog. There you go.
Any stray dog will do.
Of course.
I prefer not to speak.
She's about to throw hands.
Okay, and here you can select from which story section you select your pages. For example, I'm gonna select Urban Legend, which is the 3rd chapter of the game. And we built a deck. Now, how do you build a deck? Do you just, I don't know, throw in a bunch of like high costs or whatever? No. Because
That's not how you do it here.
everything that you play costs light, which is this number. Light is basically mana, like from, I don't know, any other card game really. And basically you want to build a deck.
Except Yu-Gi-Oh!
Oh, please.
That's a game. So basically you want to build a deck that has a decent curve, at the very least. So like a nice spread of like between like 0, 1, and 1, 2, and 3. Or higher, there are cards that go higher, eventually.
Oh yeah,
But they're
just a
debatable
small-
in worth, usually.
just a small note that the cards in your deck, like your deck isn't tied to the characters themselves, it's tied to the key pages.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so for example, if I like switch the Stray Dog page for, I don't know, what's the chain link again, you can see that if I go back to where the Stray Dogs are, the cards get saved there. And that's important because
Yeah.
you only have a limited supply of cards, besides like the very basic ones.
Also,
On a more
if you
positive
think
note, though-
also,
Sorry, go ahead.
if you think to yourself, I'll just put less cards in my deck so that I have higher chances of seeing the cards I want. No, the deck autofills itself until you have 9 cards with like generic garbage.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, the bottom of the barrel stuff from like the start of the game.
Yeah, but on a positive note, your deck doesn't mill out, so you'll get all cards in your hand. Well, you'll get your entire deck into your hand eventually, and keep cycling through that. So building your deck in mind with the fact that you'll be able to use cards multiple times is important.
Well, how it works actually is that you basically like you have your deck and you have your hand, and when you use a card, it goes to your deck instead of like
Yeah.
discarding
Yeah.
or whatever.
On card game logic, the discard pile is the same thing as your deck.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
and then it just like reshuffles itself, and then you draw. I don't think you can draw the same thing that you played on a turn without card draw effects. So like, let's say I have only this one loosen up. I don't think you can draw it immediately without a card draw effect. Just from the generic one card.
Yeah, I
per turn
think
draw.
I think you have to do a draw
No,
card
because-
effect.
And because the game has a hand size limit
Of 8. Although that only applies to the cards from your deck, admittedly. Because you can
Yeah.
you can actually get more cards in your hand than that, but it has to come from like card draw generation, and then you can't draw from your deck anymore.
Yeah, until you get rid of everything, until you have, you're not at hand size limit.
Yeah,
Anymore.
pretty much. So early game, you don't actually have that many options to like build a solid deck because the card quality in Ruina actually follows like a story-based power creep progression. Where like initially you just fight like generic nukes, but then you like go fight the elites or whatever. And so early game you don't quite have like the options to build like really good decks. But when you are able to, you want to have a supply of draw and light restoration.
Should we go over like generally good cards for the early game?
No.
No.
Nah, because it's subject to change. I just want to go like over like general deck building rules.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
basically, you want card draw, you want light restoration, and then like just generally cards that you actually want to use like for combat in the
Yeah.
deck
Yeah,
or for other effects.
Like maybe boss or something.
Yeah, like this, for example, which you can see, like, gain 2 endurance, and it says to you what endurance is. Just reading goes a long way in Ruina.
Like, for Ruina deck building, early on, you can do, like, a mishmash of just generally good cards. Later on, it does get more specific with how you need to build your decks. But the early game is, like, up until, like, Urban Plague, it's, like, very...
Yeah, it's
friendly
a
to
mishmash
people
of
who haven't
good
played
cards,
games.
but you still want a curve.
yeah,
You
definitely.
still want the curve.
You definitely should mind the curve.
You can't just build it with like 3 focus strikes, 3 commandeering, and another fucking 3 cost.
Like a certain someone once did. Because they didn't know how the game worked. And totally wasn't me.
Bro, just gain an emotion level every turn.
We're gonna talk about that in a second. So let's quickly build some, like, I don't know, basic decks.
Also, can you look at Headshot, for example? The
yeah.
gun cards? That's also an effect that...
Yeah, there are basically two types of dice. There is a third one that gets introduced later, but it's not relevant here. Melee pages, which are basically like regular rules. And then there is gun.
Gun can only be used by specific key pages that are allowed to use gun.
Like this one, for example, which is a key page that can only use gun.
But there are some that can both use guns and...
Well, most of them actually use both guns and melee,
Yeah.
if they can use guns.
Yeah,
These are like the exceptions.
There are only 2 pages in the game that can only use guns.
Fun fact, I actually did test this once. If you use these specific key pages and don't fill them, you don't actually like get any other cards in your hand. So these specific pages can actually have a reduced deck size. That won't help you because these cards have the exhaust on effect, which is that instead of going back to your deck, these cards are just lost until the end of the act.
Yeah.
Next act, they refuel, so don't worry. These cards aren't gonna exhaust and you lose them forever, or something like that.
Yeah, no. They're just not gonna be available for the rest of like the current battle, pretty much. So that's gonna be like fine. And once you hit Urban Plague, you get the ability to reassign passives. So each page comes with its own passives and they don't cost anything. And you can assign other key pages. Like, you can't equip these anymore, the specific ones that you select, but they will be able to like give you some abilities. There is a limit. You can only put so many abilities on one page, even if you have like the cost. Like, see, I have 6 points available to put in, but I can't put in another page because there is a limit of 4. Four key pages, cost, and then 9 total abilities, which include the passives which include the default passives.
Also, don't worry, they will not be lost forever. If you just press the X, they just come back.
Yeah, they just go back. So, for example, I can assign speed to this page, which means I get 1 more dice roll.
And to be clear, if you want to attribute this page and that page is like also an attribute to it, you can't really like how should I explain this?
You need to remove the attribution of that page.
Yeah, but you can just like for example, this one's attribute, right? So I can just click it, revert attribution to that page, yes, and then you can just select it.
Yeah.
And then you can either, of course, confirm or decline the changing of your abilities.
Yeah, if you decline, it isn't safe yet, so be sure to like confirm.
Okay, I think that's enough about deck building at the very least. Let's do what is called a general invitation. Now, of course, you can. Of course, the main story is, you know, these, but there are also side receptions, where if you like put in just the regular books of a certain tier, like let's say the Book of Allah, you get what are called the general receptions. These are not story related.
Yeah, so you don't get like cutscenes, they just happen.
Yeah, they just happen. As you can see, I have 4 librarians, but I can only bring 3 to the reception. This is a 2-act reception, which basically means there are multiple waves of enemies. We're gonna use the Malkuth floor for this. Also, nice siren in the background for someone.
Wonderful.
The police have come.
They're coming to the library.
The uninvited guests.
Okay, so again, same as before. You can show the arrows, by the way, by over here, or by pressing the numbers on the keyboard that are shown.
I think you should also go in depth with the gun priority, because I don't think we explained it yet.
Yeah, basically how guns work is that. Actually, this is a perfect target for this, hopefully. Oh no, I have snipe.
Hopefully, he says.
Oh no, I have snipe. It's not a good target.
You can take over the clash or something.
Nah, there's no way this will lose. But anyway, basically how guns work is that they get played before any of the melee pages. It's like, even though this is a 4 and this is a 5, the 5 should resolve before the 4. But since this is a gun, it's just basically a separate priority queue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that always goes first.
Yeah, the downside is that if an offensive dice of a melee page wins against an offensive dice of a gun page, or any offensive dice of a gun page, it gets recycled to like the back of the queue. So for example, this 4-7, it could potentially win against like the remaining 2 dice on this page, since the first one will be the block.
Yeah, so basically, like, the best and most reliable way of dealing with guns is just bring a really strong card of only a single dice.
Yes. Also, I'm gonna show off something about block and evade dice. Basically, if they don't get to do anything, since I'm using only a single offensive dice here, and the enemy has both an offensive dice and a block dice, the block dice will then respond to any one-sided attacks. So for example, if I target this, that one block dice will be preserved if it was used, and then since this will come later, the block dice will be there on the character, ready to at least mitigate some of the damage incoming. There's probably a better way of saying that, but I can't come up with any. If you guys have something.
Not really. I mean, the idea.
Yeah,
I
the
think
idea is
the idea should be clear enough.
Yeah. So we're gonna go over how emotion works. Emotion is basically. Oh boy, here we go. When you go over this number here, you can see like emotion level to the right and how it works. So basically, I'm gonna have probably like an explanation in the description, like a full like list about this. But basically, see how this guy rolls a 3 and I'm gonna win this clash, right? If I rolled a maximum value or a minimum value, I would get a speed coin.
Emotion coin.
Yeah.
What do you mean emotion coin?
Yeah, emotion coin. And so this guy lost the clash, and he rolled either the minimum value, so he got 2 emotion coins. Once you get enough emotion coins to like fill up this bar, you gain an emotion level, which fully restores your light and gives maximum light capacity as indicated here. At emotion level 4 you also get an additional speed dice, and at emotion level 5, if you play at least 2 combat pages in a scene, you draw an additional page, so instead of drawing 1 you draw 2.
Yeah.
So let's see here what's gonna happen. I roll a 3, so the enemy won a clash, and they got a positive emotion coin. I lost the clash, so I got a negative emotion coin. Now, worth noting, both of these are good for you. Both negative and positive emotions are good for you. And since, for example, this card can only roll either the minimum or the maximum, you always get an emotion coin. Also, since
It's notable that it's notable that cards that don't have a range on them, like for example a card that has a 3/3 dice, for example, that does not give you any emotion coin.
Yeah, that doesn't give you any emotion because it's neither a minimum or a maximum roll. Also, winning or losing a clash again gives you an emotion coin. So since this guy cannot respond to this die, I automatically win the clash. And since I roll either the minimum or the maximum, I get 2 emotion coins.
And he also gets a negative.
And it's just one-sided, so you don't get any emotion.
Unless you roll either the minimum or the maximum. Yeah, this is the downside to one-sided attacks. Which means you want to clash as much as possible. And if you tie, no one gets emotion coins from that. At least for the clash rule.
Yeah.
And see this block was on the page that clashed with the gun, but since it didn't get to be used, it responds to the one-sided attack instead.
Got retained,
Yeah.
actually.
You can see the emotion levels of the team emotion levels, which is basically average, and the player team means that you resolve more books from the reception, and the enemy has a higher % chance of dropping their books or more copies of it on a higher emotion level. So basically, emotion level is kind of important to raise, which is why for example, I'm gonna try to use this.
Should probably go to the next turn.
Yeah.
To explain the other.
So we're gonna quickly play the cards that we have here.
Make sure, yeah, to give the other motions. Well, even if they lose, just let them clash with something.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think real quickly. But...
That's not speedrun viable. You have to think fast.
Okay, Clockma.
Look, we all paid the price of silence.
Yes. Okay. One more round of clashes, and this one rolled a 6. Okay, he won, and since he didn't get to play it yet, but if I play this dice against the block dice don't recycle, by the way, and see the dice is back. Like, this card used to have 2 pages, but since the offensive die won against my first one, it got rolled to the back, and now it's responding to my third die.
Yeah, they always get put to the back of the queue.
And if it won again, the die like will damage like the player.
If the gun page runs out of its offensive die, and the enemy still has the offensive die, they will just like go and smack the gun user.
Hey, did we tell you that if you like die with an evade die, it gets actually used up?
Evade die don't need to tie to get used up. It's just like evade versus evade, it just gets used up.
No, but if an evade die ties with like an offensive die, the evade die gets used up.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah.
Like if anything ties with its, if anything ties, it just gets negated completely. Anything. Like for the evade die to get re-rolled, it needs to roll higher. For a clash like with offensive dice to go through, for you to deal damage, you need to roll higher. For the block dice to deal the damage to the opponent, even like on a block versus block situation, one of them needs to roll higher. If there is a tie, any type of dice, they just both get negated.
Yeah.
So this is what you. This is.
Or else we would have some
interesting interactions.
Yeah, or else we would have, like, if on tie the dice didn't get, like, they didn't get cancelled, we would have some situations with infinite clashes.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So what happens once your team reaches a average emotion level of at least of like int? So team emotion level 1, team emotion level 2. You get to pick what are called abnormality pages, and these are basically the things that differentiate the different floors. So I only got red dice because I kept losing, but basically there are green abnormality pages and red ones.
They basically explain themselves.
Yeah, green ones are always good for you. Most of the time. And then red ones have like drawbacks associated with them, but also potentially huge payoff. Potentially.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Some.
So for example, this one, where you put this on one ally, and for 3 scenes, they recover 15% of their max HP at the end of the scene. But if you take 3 hits while the effect is active, lose 25% of the current HP and lose the effect. And this one, for example, where all dice gain 1 to 2 power in a clash, and dice lose power in a one-sided attack. Power is basically increasing like the dice, not the max roll, but the roll itself. Like say you have a dice with like a roll of 3 to 4, and you gain +2 power. That roll becomes 5 to 6. Pretty much. So power is like very powerful in Ruina.
It is basically the one off, if not the best buff in the game.
Yeah. One important thing when assigning abnormality pages. See how Neville has some emotion? Which, by the way, I don't know how they didn't go to emotion level 2. They have the belt.
They will. They will next turn.
Okay, so I'm gonna show off something. If you put an emotion card on an ally, all of their emotion coins get negated. At least as of recording this. So this is something to keep in mind, at least. So this guy needs to rebuild his emotion coins.
Very on.
So yeah, that's pretty much the basic rules. You can see, for example, the enemies have their own abilities, well, just like you do, and there are these things called abnormalities, which you get the cards from, which are basically like gimmick boss fights.
Yeah, they're basically puzzle boss fights.
Pretty much, which you need to you need to read the rules. Like
please read. Please, once you go into every battle, read like all the past abilities. They may
before
like
you do anything, or you might lose.
Yeah, pretty much.
Reading is like really important in this game.
Breaking
Who knew?
news.
Like, who knew a game about a library would be important to, like, reading would be important.
Yeah. Crazy, right? So yeah, like, see, this is a clash. Well, not anymore. But it was a clash there, so I got extra power from the abnormality.
Also, you saw the music change. It's like pretty much like the normal battlefield for enemies, and if they get higher emotion level than you, it will play that song.
Yeah, this is basically the enemy somehow has
You
a
are
higher
losing.
emotion level than you.
Yeah,
You are
losing.
losing.
Not really gameplay important, but it's a nice.
It's a nice thing. Also, the player also gets better music once they get higher levels. So like, since the gun went first, it got to play it before the enemies. Yeah, see, that's the power of the like clash and strengthened. It made a 1 to 2 roll a 5.
Pretty much a max roll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And since I got to team emotion level 2, and higher, I get to pick another one. So for example, this one, upon taking a hit, inflict 1 to 3 burn to the attacker, and gain a buff at 40% chance next scene. Offensive dice inflict 1 burn on hit.
Still waiting for the buffs.
Pretty much.
Hopefully when you guys are watching this, the floor has been buffed.
Oh yeah, since I have higher emotion
Yeah.
level, I get to play Malkuth emotion level 2 theme. Or rather Malkuth 2.
Also, if you're playing this before starting the game, don't try to search up the gun. It may lead into spoilers.
Yeah.
It's like if you want like a song, ask like a friend who has played the game. They'll probably like give you like spoiler free.
Oh, and see, and like the enemy had an offensive die, and I ran out of gun cards, so they just could run up.
They just ran up
and down smashed. So, I want to show off one more thing, and that's how act switching works. Also, the page is slowly running out of guns because all of these are exhaust.
Joker uses his
but
move
it's like one of the 2 pages that does this.
Yeah.
So not like
there is a gun page that just.
There's a really good reception gun page.
Yeah,
it's actually insane.
Guns kinda epish. And since again this plays first, even though this literally rolled a speed of 1.
Yeah, they can actually help you like staggering the enemy before the other ones attack. So
Yeah.
you're pretty much safe.
Guns are good. Just please don't clash.
Also, there's like more ways to get like light in this game, but I think the manual like explains. You can understand it now.
If you stagger an enemy, you get 1 light, but that one you can actually just figure out from the manual, really.
Yeah.
But still, okay. Staggering an enemy gives you 1 light, and I think that's actually everything. Emotion level increase refills light, there are cards that refill light, and staggering an enemy gives 1 light. Also for emotion, something I forgot to mention, not only is emotion generated by minimum or maximum roll, or winning or losing a clash, but killing an enemy gives free positive emotion coins to the person who killed, and losing an ally gives negative free emotion coins to the whole team. So that's important to note.
Yeah, remember the suicide strats we mentioned earlier?
Yeah, that's basically...
They kind of involved with dying for negative emotion.
Yeah, and as you can see, for example, this is the second wave, and this is where, for example, a tougher enemy comes in. As you can see, he's packing some better cards than the generics, and has better abilities.
You can't swap like cards from the floor that's been like used.
Yeah, you can't swap the cards. If you have more librarians, you could technically bring them in.
Yeah, like if you
like, can swap the floor. There is no penalty here for swapping the floor besides resetting the emotion level of or rather going in with a floor that doesn't have emotion built. This emotion level stays. So sometimes you might want to like make use of that. Like say there is a free act reception, and on Act 3 your floor is like nearly wiped or something. You can go with another floor, and then it's basically a 0 emotion versus 0 emotion. And if that floor wipes, you get to bring in the original one, at least, with their emotion and abnormalities pre-built.
It depends how confident you are.
Yeah. Sometimes you might...
Because don't forget that you are the dungeon. You set the flow of the battle. Control is the name of the game. Preserving resources.
You are the boss fight, technically.
Yeah.
Not technically, you are.
You actually are the boss fight.
Sounds fun. I mean, there is a floor where that's literally the case.
more than one floor.
I mean, more than one, but one floor in particular.
Yeah.
I mean, all the floors really are like good.
It speaks to this game level when I don't know exactly which one you're talking about. Oh, of course I know because it's you, but you know.
Yeah, pretty much, but...
Look, we know what his tastes are, okay?
And they're good. But yeah, there are... Like, all the floors are viable, I will say. Even Malkuth, which right now we would say is like probably the weakest. But she still has her useful things.
She has like pretty good ABNO page, and those ABNO pages can like pretty...
Yeah, like this one.
Like, please don't talk about that. Like Gluttony. Gluttony is a good card.
Yeah, like Gluttony.
Predation is like... okay, but it only lasts for...
Yeah, it only lasts for
I also wish Display of Affection showed up more.
Yeah, lol.
Because you actually need to really lose to get that card.
Yeah, but that's like more advanced stuff, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's put it on Malkuth, for example. Oh, and see, since Malkuth reached emotion level 4, she now has free speed dice.
Yo!
But yeah.
Oh yeah, I guess you also gain like 1 light and draw 1 card each team, but that's probably like obvious to know.
Yeah. Let's see, for example, since he's almost staggered, I can play this to... Actually no, I will play this because he has Endure on both HP and Stagger.
Smart play, Rangor. Smart play.
Wow.
The problem with guns at this point is that, like, they're better as a one-sided attack card, and that doesn't gain
Emotion.
a lot of emotion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Though, again, there is a key page that combines both gun and melee
Yeah.
at this point, and then later ones just all do that.
Yeah, because you really don't want to run decks with only guns. You want like some melee pages as well.
Yeah, at
To
least,
get
these
into flashes.
at least these guns, because these guns exhaust Unused, so eventually you're gonna run out of a deck.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, see everyone here reaching emotion level 4, except her. Because gun.
Gun moment.
Gun moment. But yeah, that should be it for like basic information about Ruina. There are obviously more things to be said, but those can be figured out while playing.
Yeah.
But like stuff
Like
like
they may-
emotion is honestly kind of obscure, if you ask me.
Yeah, like these stuff like are used for like the whole game. You can probably like survive.
Yeah, especially like the minimum and maximum roll here. For example, here, won the clash because the enemy couldn't counter and rolled max. That's really important to keep in mind, honestly.
Also, like how you build your decks.
Yeah.
Remember to always open the curtains, keep the lights on, keep your eyes open on the experiment.
Excuse me, keep the ice buttered till the end.
Yeah, keep the eyes buttered at the end.
Bruh. Are you
Oh
even
right.
a Ruina
Oh,
fan?
it's don't miss a moment of this experiment.
Bruh, are you even a Ruina fan?
Oh, you're a Ruina fan? Name every paragraph.
Also, please update your cards whenever you get further into the game.
Yeah.
Like,
For example, these cards are pretty like meh, and these are like, well, this one is like Urban Myth. These are Urban Plague. Urban Nightmare is when you start getting really good cards.
yeah.
That's like
Please
where you
don't.
gotta rebuild your whole decks.
It's
Please
when the
don't.
strategy changes from let's just have enough light to be able to play cards into welcome to actually themed decks.
Yeah, like late in the game,
Well-
some fights can get a bit longer. So like, you really want
deck
to like the
building-
draw on light cards to like keep up.
If deck building feels too intimidating for you, like you could also just like get cards in and out by trial and error.
Yeah.
Yeah, again,
Like the
light
game-
draws important.
One of the best parts about this game is that the learning curve is really good.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I guess we also forgot, if you like lose a reception, lose the books.
Yeah, you lose the
which you
books.
win.
However, if you've won an act, you get the books from that act. You lose the books that you put in, but you gain the books that you've won from the acts you've won. So that can be nice on
Yeah.
like,
Also-
multi-act receptions.
Also, I don't know if they will change this, if this will stay in the current release of the game, but if you Alt F4, if you force quit during a reception, you don't lose the books. So
I think
if
it's
you
it's to
really-
prevent like game crashes from fucking you over.
yeah, if
Ah.
you really don't want to redo a specific reception,
Yeah.
you can just do that.
Yeah, I will say, however, also we didn't exactly go on like one thing we didn't go over like with key pages, their color, and like with cards. The color determines how many of them you can have. Green ones you can have 5 of, blue ones 4 of.
There's a difference, of course.
Yeah, the green ones are like 5 of, blue ones are 4 of, purple ones are 3 of, and golden ones, like, where is it?
Olga.
Let's see. Mars, for example, which is the earliest one, you can only have 1 of, but they're usually really good. And 1 of, like, if you're having problems with like the mid game, I just recommend this key page, Olga page, and this card set. Like, I know we said we won't recommend like specific stuff, but this is like too good not to recommend.
Also, one thing, if this also applies for combat pages, but the rarity, the color change for cards doesn't really matter. It's just that the golden pages you can only use one of.
Like this one, for example.
Yeah, scratch that. You can only have one in your deck.
Yeah. You can only have one of those in your deck. Other than that, I think the colors only affect like the drop rates from the book. But you're guaranteed to get them anyway, eventually, so yeah.
Yeah, gameplay on the fight, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, on the fight itself. Also, there is a limit of three individual ones that aren't golden. So like I can't put in more daring decisions, for example. Like see, exceeded the equip limit.
Yeah.
Okay, that honestly covers everything, really. We've gone on for a long time.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the basic guide that took an hour.
We're gonna put timestamps on it. It's shit.
Yeah.
I hope you probably should. For
I'm gonna send you I'm gonna unlist the video and have you guys help me out with that, cause oof. Yeah. Hope this helped at least, and hope you like our rambling for an hour. Anyway, see ya. Keep your eyes buttered till the end.